All right, you guys, so here's a doozy for you. So this is not a plant medicine thing. This is a spiritual thing that I want to talk about right now. And I'm talking about it because I think it's really, really, really important to know, because I've heard stories about people. I've experienced different things, and you know, this is a really important subject. So here goes. The subject is loving when you are open spiritually. And this has to do with what people usually call twin flames or their soulmates and things like that. And I'm going to share with you guys just a few stories just to kind of give you a gist of what I've learned thus far. So the one thing that I know is that we don't have just one soulmate, okay? We have many soulmates. These are like our spiritual families. These are spirit beings that we made agreements with, that we've loved in different lifetimes, that we've experienced in different lifetimes, that we make love to in the spirit world or experience in the spirit world. And it's like you have many relationships with many beings, because remember, this is my belief, and what I understand as well is that before we get here, we make an agreement with those who are to help us on our journey in this lifetime. And so what that looks like is, like, I tell my mama, you know, hey Deborah, you know, Deborah, look, I need you to be my mom in this lifetime, and I need you to introduce me to metaphysics, and I need you to this and this and that, you know. And my dad, you know, Dad, hey, yo, I need you to teach me about entrepreneurship, but I need you to not like me very much at the same time, you know. And my siblings and whatever the agreements were with them. Well, the same thing happens with your mates that you encounter in different lifetimes. You make agreements with them. And the thing is that since we have journeyed so many times together, that we've experienced different realities, different planets or whatever together, that when you see them, you recognize them. When you meet them, you recognize them. It's like, almost like you catch a glimpse of somebody and you make a contact and your heart just jumps out. That's one way that you can feel them. Then, but I'm going to tell you guys what happened to me. And I'm sharing this with you all to get rid of the idea of the notion that because you feel that you've met someone that you're connected to, that you have to be with them, because it's not true. And this whole thing about twin flames, like literally, twin flames, literally, some wind up together and some don't. And I hear more stories about women, more so from women who are in love with someone who is what they consider to be their twin flame, and it didn't go well. It has not gone well. So let's talk about that. So my first experience, I've posted a video on Aho Sasha. And in that video, I talked about a dream that I had where there was a man that was in my dream, and he was like my husband or my mate or something or whatever. And he was very protective of me. And I knew this man's face very clear and everything, like still to this day. Like I recognize him from the dream, right? Like I know what he looks like in the dream, right? So there was this guy that reached out to me couple years ago, and yeah, it's been almost a couple of years ago, almost, yeah. And he reached out to me, and me and him, you know, like we were talking and everything. You know, he had found me on YouTube, and like we were super cool, and we would communicate a lot and everything. And because of his particular situation, like I really was like, you know, like we could be friends, right? And he kept telling me, like literally, I'd be talking to this dude, and then I would hear my voice in the background. I'm like, what you doing? He's like, I'm looking at your video, your Aho Sasha video. He's like, for some reason, I keep coming back to this video. And I was like, really? He was like, yeah. I said, I'm going to have to look at that video again, because I was trying to figure out why was he watching it so much, or what was catching his eye. He's like, I don't know what it is, but I keep watching it. So literally I pull over, park, and go watch my video on the phone. And the moment that I start listening to the part about the dream, all these memories just start flooding me. And his face flashed, the man in the dream flashed before me. And I realized that it's the man that I had been talking to on the phone. He was the man in my dream. At the same time, my heart chakra burst open, where I felt the most intense pain and heat in my chest that I have ever felt in my life, that it was overwhelming, all consuming, that I had to catch my breath, and I'm trying to digest everything, because everything is like I'm being flooded with this man's energy and his information, like recognizing him, like I know him. And this knowing is not from this lifetime, is knowing him from many lifetimes before. So I went through this, and I was overwhelmed, like you couldn't believe, because guess what? I was overwhelmed with love, pure freaking love. This is the love so intense that, oh my God. When people say they love people, sometimes I just don't believe they understand what love really is, because I know what it feels like. And there are no words to describe what love really feels like. She cannot be contained. She is not meant to be contained. She is all encompassing. Love is source energy. Love is source. Oh my God. Listen. The love exists beyond this realm. The love is. That's it. Love is. And that's what I felt for this man. Overwhelming, all-consuming love all at one point. Then I had to address this with him. And I told him, like I sent him some info. I think I sent him a long-ass recording or something explaining everything to him. And, it was crazy. So mind you, oh my God, we went between the fact of well, let me rewind. I said basically based on his situation that, that we were like being friends. Yeah, we were being friends, but the thing is that this man had told me that he loved me, and he loved me from the moment that he saw me. Okay, like he knew me. What I've experienced is that the men identify me before I identify them most of the time. So any old way, went through all that, and what wound up happening was he broke my heart. Horribly broke my heart, because he was playing with the idea of, he told me that he was in the process of a divorce. And then things quickly escalated between he and I. And he did not live where I live. And he was talking about moving here and everything. And then just to make it short and sweet, he broke my heart. Broke my heart. I have never cried, I don't think, well, at that time, I had never cried so hard before in my life, because I really loved him. I still do love him. The love it's not, it will never leave, because it exists. It has nothing to do with this earthly plane. It's everything to do with spirit. So, when we hook up back up in the spirit, where I'll be like, yo, dude, that's how you did me on earth? Yo, well, I guess it was part of our agreement, right? That's what he was supposed to do in this lifetime. So that was this dude. So literally, I thought like he was the one, because I had never felt such intense love for someone before in my life. And he wasn't. The next, this is crazy, right? The funny thing is, the next one came. Oh my God, the next one came, and he just, oh my God, this one came. He came right on the heels of the other one when I was still, you know, going through the releasing and letting go of that whole idea, notion of being with that man and that he was the one. So here comes the next one. Oh my God. And so this one, day 2, he's like, he loves me too. Everybody loving me. And he loved me from the first time he saw me too. That's crazy. They said the same thing, right? I will never listen to that statement again. If somebody tell me that again, I'll be like, oh, okay. All right. Gotcha. Cool. He said the same thing. And I was apprehensive to this man. But over time, one day, I did the medicine. I did mother, right? And I met my higher self that night. And she came through, introduced herself, and took me on a journey to show me who I am and who I was at one point. She took me to Egypt. She took me inside of a pyramid with a chamber, with a seat, like a throne. And to get to this throne, you have to walk up like a couple of steps, right? Okay. At the entrance, so if I was looking at the entrance, there were 2 guards, and there were 2 huge black cats that came up, like, for me, I'm like 5'6", so it would be like up to my thigh, like past my thigh, like mid-thigh or something. They were huge cats, and they were standing there. And she stood on the throne next to the chair, looking at the entrance, and in walked, of course, the new guy, and came in and sat on his throne. Now, my higher self, she's showing me this is her, but of course it's me, right? She's showing me a past life. She looks at him with such adoration. She loves this man's dirty drawls, like loves him because he's so cocky as hell, and just like he know his stuff, you know, and everything. And she giggles because, you know, she like, you know, like, yeah. And then there was another lady there, a servant, who was feeding him. I know this sounds crazy, you know, like stuff that we hear all the time, but she's literally feeding him grapes, right? And there's another one sitting at his foot. And she's standing there just watching it all, like, get it, baby. Get it. Yes. Feed him. Feed him. And so then she took me and she showed me he and I in the universe, swirling like this, just swirling, holding each other as spirit beings, making love in the universe. She told me who we were, but I'm going to hold that for myself. And oh my God. Of course, I realized how much I loved him, because now I really recognize this man. I was fighting the fact all that time that I knew his energy and that I loved him as well. See, I got lots of men out there in the universe, probably. I got a lot of soulmates that I've journeyed with. But I'm going to tell you, this one right here, he was something else. Love him, love him, love him to this day. He and I went through some shit, misunderstandings, and literally he wound up doing the medicine with me. And when he went in the medicine, he saw me, and he understood who we were. But we both knew that in this lifetime, it wasn't meant for us to be together. So we have an agreement that as much as we love one another, that we're not going to be together in this lifetime. So literally, we honor that love because we both have seen one another in the spirit realm and understand our connection. But we got other stuff to do, spiritual work to do in this lifetime. Whereas we just get to love one another. That's it. And work together. But that's all. So that's number 2, right? Now, number 3, the saga continues. Okay, so I cuss like a sailor, but you know I refrain from it a lot on the videos. So number 3. And the reason why I'm sharing these stories is because I'm showing you that just because you know them and recognize them, you know the connection, you do not have to be with them. You don't have to be with them. Okay, number 3. This is the doozy of all doozies and the one I am still confused about. This one. Remember I told you I did that DMT trip? And I was telling somebody that I love them so much. This is the one. And that's when I recognized him in the spirit realm, and realized that we were connected. After that, I journeyed with Mother so many times, and I've channeled so many times regarding he and I, because no matter what I do, this man comes up. I dream about him. His energy never leaves me. Gets on my friggin' nerves because he's forever present, annoying as fuck. And so what has happened, we've had a very intense, very fast moving situation, and it's still yet to be figured out. So the thing about this one, and what's really confusing to me, number 1, I still know that, you know, things may never pan out between me and him, that we may never be together. And with that, I'm totally okay with that. You know, because he'll just be another one, right? But the thing is that what I was shown in the medicine with regard to him, now mind you, he hasn't seen it yet, and I don't know if he'll ever see it. I don't know if he will, no, I take it back. He did see it. He was told that we have a love. They called it, I'm probably going to say it wrong, but it was something like a cosmic love that he would never understand in this lifetime. So don't even try. That's what he was told. While he was told that, I've seen us. And it's like I can go on and on and tell you the stories about this, but I'm going to tell you some really crazy crap has happened with regard to this situation. So one time I saw he and I, and we were literally on a planet that was like red. And we were flying these like really huge, like, the only way I can describe them to you, it would be like dragons, and like what is that, Game of Thrones, like we reference Game of Thrones and the big dragons or whatever. I got to sneeze. Like that. They were big like that, and but they didn't look like them necessarily. And we would fly these things, and like I was definitely a badass warrior, and he was too. But we would fly very high up and get on these like mountains, and we would stand there and we would watch the sunset over what was our world. It was our world. And so like we ran it there. That's one thing. The other thing I've seen he and I as a family, with a daughter. Actually, I think we had like 3 kids, but it's one child in particular that stands out, and she always stands out. the daughter. And so I'm going to tell you something really interesting that I experienced. I had an experience where I was in the medicine, and one time they were looking through this telescopic thing, the same home that we live in this particular reality I go back to. They were looking through this thing, that they could look through, and they could see me in this reality. And I remember being in the medicine, I said, I see y'all, you know, I see y'all looking at me or whatever. And he said, wow. Like that, like, whoa, like she knows that we're looking at her. So there is, like in some of the reality, they have the technology to look in on other realities where they exist or whatever, or they have relationships. I don't know, shit. So anyway, he was looking through it, and the daughter was looking through it, looking at me journeying. So then another thing, that in that video I talked about seeing him in a bathtub and with looking like he was a painted image. I actually saw that same house in a dream that I had, but this time I got to go through the house, and it was the same place from the DMT experience. So this could go on and on. I could tell you so many weird things that happens, but this particular man, I can't get rid of his ass energetically. And I've cried, and I tried to release him by making him say a statement to release me, because his energy at one point was so consuming to me that I cried so much because I wanted to be released. It's hard when literally, because I feel, I'm a channeler, I'm a seer, I'm a reader. My mantra is I feel. And so basically I connect to people's energy in order to read them, but it's nothing like being connected to someone's energy that you do not want to be connected to all the time, all the freaking time. I don't sleep without dreaming about him. I don't rest without dreaming about him. I get taught about him. I get dropped into his essence to know him and to experience him. And I was basically told that if we ever get too far away from one another, they're always going to pull us back together. So the crazy thing is that everything from the spirit world says that he and I are supposed to be together, and we're supposed to work together, and we're supposed to do this and that. But the thing is that we still have to choose one another in this reality. And today, I just don't, I don't have much faith in that. Not now. I just don't. It's really interesting the things that you go through in these different relationships and everything. And what you should know is that when people love you, they show up for you. They show up, period. They show up, they care, they show that they care, and everything in some kind of way. And when people don't show up, it's definitely a red flag. So as much as, you experience these things with these people and you may love them, I don't care how intense the love is, the knowing of the love, the knowing of the existence of the relationships and other realities, and, just knowing that the love is and that it exists beyond this reality, you got to be careful not to lose yourself. Number one, in the whole situation. Number two is when you're sincere with people, if you're one of these people like me, I'm an open book. Like, if I love you, I'm going to tell you that I love you. And like, that's what I am. I'm just love. I just love people. And I don't hold grudges. Love doesn't allow me to hold grudges. And things like that. But what you got to watch for, and one lady told me, is that she went through an experience, and the person who she thought was her twin flame, actually, because she knew how intensely she felt the connection or whatever, he basically used her. He used her. And she said she went through many years of being tormented by her whole situation. Then another lady, you know what's crazy about this thing is that when the two people actually, when they really recognize each other, like the whole twin flame thing, and they recognize a connection, the connections be so damn intense. And it really helped me to understand how people can love two people or more, be in love, or really feel like an intense connection with people. It's because the love exists beyond this reality. It really does. So another person, like, and these situations can get you into some fucked up, Jesus Lord, get you into some bad situations where, you know, like somebody may be involved with somebody else or married, you know, to somebody else or whatever else, and yet you have this intense connection with this person, and it gets the shit. Sorry, it gets really messy. It can get really messy at times. So the thing is that you know, you still always don't lose yourself and put things in perspective. It's really hard, like for me being a psychonaut, and that I journey and that I can see and that I channel and everything, and I keep hearing all these things, and you know, it's like hard for me to like, for me, like I would love to put the love aside and just shut it completely down and not feel this person, because I don't feel like I get what I give. And when there's an imbalance to the situation, it's just not a good feeling at all. And so the easiest thing would be to walk away, you know, like to kind of just be free. But for some reason, spiritually, it's not allowed for me to get too far away. And but I swear I keep trying. I keep trying. And the thing is that it's not that I don't love this person. What it is that this person is entangled with a whole bunch of crap. And basically, I don't have time for that. I just don't. So for me and for my sake, it literally is like, you have to, like for me, I have to consciously work on letting go and redefining the relationship that we've experienced thus far. Whereas it's not so much, you know, more so that it really is just a friendship, and I can place him like I place the other two men, right? Unless he does a 180 and gets his shit together. But as of today, it ain't happening. So, sorry. So look, so a few things to just look at is, number one, in order to balance out what you're feeling, number one, know that you have many soulmates. There are many people that you've interacted with, that you loved, and this and that. Number two is that just because you recognize that person in this lifetime does not mean that you have to be intimate with them, that you have to share a relationship with them. It's more so, what I would suggest is kind of get to know the person, and as much as you can. These relationships are really fast moving. Like, they move so damn fast. It's hard when you have a connection with somebody. It's like what everybody be thinking, like the normal stuff, like, you know, that people having a feel for of how they want to court or date. All that shit is thrown out the window. There I go again. Thrown out the window, because it moves so fast. Like, the connection be so intense. So, but the thing is that try your best to kind of slow down and see the whole person, because just because the connection is there, you still want to make sure that this person is for you in this reality. You all met for a reason, so you got to figure out what that reason is. And it comes easier probably, you know, with communication and understanding, like, what do you all really want from one another? And hopefully you'll have a person who's willing to talk to you and share that. The last person, the third one, he's just shit, it's not as expressive as the other two. We'll put it like that. So then the next thing is that be willing, I'm just going to stress this one more time. Be willing to put aside what the connection is and see the person as they are completely. The next thing is that try not to just get yourself entangled in some BS. Like, seriously. Like, if they're in a relationship with somebody else, or if they're, in quotes, divorcing somebody else, or whatever it is that story is, then you may want to give them space in order to figure that out. Because if you don't, you're the one who's going to wind up heartbroken. Because they have attachments, and if you're putting yourself in the situation to just love someone and really be there in their lives, then it becomes this wanting this person to be with you, because the feelings of love is so intense, it's ridiculous. Like, if you've ever felt this, you know what I'm talking about. That it is just like your heart chakra, your heart hurts, like be in pain, be on fire for these people. Just like, it's just overwhelming. And it's kind of like this last person, what I feel is like literally my nerves would go, I would be shaking like this sometimes, and my knee would be jumping, because I just did not understand what was going on with me to love someone so intensely when I didn't even know him very well. It disturbed me to no end. I went through several months of feeling freaking crazy, almost, and acting crazy too, I'm sure, and crying like, oh my God, every time you look up, I was just crying. More so because I was trying to get away from what I was feeling instead of accepting it, which resulted in, here's another pointer for you guys, is to surrender. Surrender is the best keyword that I can give anybody in this lifetime. And I often have to remind myself to surrender too, because, I slip up as well and forget about surrender at times. Surrendering is so important, because that means that at that point, you're not fighting the flow of the energy. And love is an energy. And so for me being nervous, me crying, me everything, and me just wanting to get rid of the feeling because I didn't understand it. And I wasn't getting from this person what I felt that I needed from him, or wanted from him. I was being tortured. So I was like trying to just like fight it all, and fighting it did me no good. It made it worse, because it was a losing battle. So what I've had to do for my own peace of mind is just surrender. What I know is that I love him. What I know is that this love exists beyond this reality. What I know is that we've crossed each other's paths for some reason, and that today it's not confirmed as to what the reason really is. We have unfinished business, and maybe one day I'll be able to give you guys an update. Regardless of which direction it goes in. So for your peace of mind, surrender to the love and know that it exists. But at the same time, understand that just because the love exists does not mean that you're supposed to be with this person. I'm going to back up to the second guy. He and I lost contact for over a year. And it was just this year that he and I reconnected, had a come to Jesus, got an understanding as to what really happened between us, and reconfirmed our love for one another. He and I have this thing where we put our foreheads together, connect to a third eye kiss. And the connection is so strong, literally, like, it's like, whoa, you know, like literally you have to grab onto something, because it's like immediately we're like just gone, and like we have to sit and actually recover and come back here fully once we do that. But it is one of the most amazing and beautiful and loving experiences I've ever had in this existence. And I suggest that, you know, with your love, that you sit and do a third eye kiss. Just sit and just, you know, sit or stand and just connect your foreheads with one another, and just breathe and see what that feels like to you. It's beautiful, I'm just gonna say. But we had to separate, he and I, in order for us to come back and really let go and come back matured. We both matured, and we've matured in our expression to one another. And so now when we're together, we just love each other and just have a blast and crack up laughing and just enjoy one another's presence, because literally this man, he's love, and he expresses love very well, and I'm love, and I express love very well. So, you know, it is what it is. So surrender, you guys. Surrender to what you're feeling, and you may have to separate from that person in order to figure out what the true purpose of you all reconnecting is. And so the first guy, I figured that he was there to open up my heart chakra, to remind me, to consume me with love, to so that I step completely into just love and, you know, being love. The second guy, he came in, literally, he reminds me of love, and he reminds me of love daily, you know. And he reminds me of what love looks like when it's expressed properly. The third one, man, I'm lost. I'm lost concerning him. I can't even tell you what his purpose is yet. I've been through complete emotional and spiritual and shit hell regarding that situation, because the love is so intense, and it actually is more intense than the first two. So, you know, I rambled on and said a lot. I hope that in this, that somewhere you found yourself within it. And more than anything, I would suggest that you take care of yourself during this process. Please don't bank on anyone's empty promises. If they're not showing up, and showing up means that they're present for you, that they keep their word to you, that they honor you, that they don't put you on the back burner, that they really just show you that they love you, because love is action. And if they're not taking action with regard to you, then you really should question that love. Okay? Make sure that you take care of yourself and you're not being used, because some people see how much you love them, and just because you know that the connection exists, the human experience that they're having at this time could not be their highest high, meaning that they may still be in the trenches, like in a place where it's not necessarily complementary to you, whereas they can pull you down instead of lift you. Okay, so the other thing is that be mindful of that. Does this person lift you? Do they make you feel good? Do they honor who you are as a being? You know, do they honor, you know, do they just honor you, man? You know, just being loving and caring and kind to you, supportive to you, you know. So be conscious of that as well. And you know, just really take care of yourself. And be patient. Patience is really hard for me. Like I'm a black and white person. Like I don't walk in the gray very well. Like the not knowing within this life, because I've always had to know where I'm headed. That's the way I've lived my life. So to walk in the unknown regarding a relationship, man, that's for the birds for me. Like literally, like I need to know something, you know. So be cautious of that walking in the gray stuff with somebody. Like if they don't give you a reason to walk in the gray, you tell them take their gray and shove it up their crack. Because the thing is that if they're asking you to walk in that gray and they're not showing you that they cut for you, that they love you, or they're giving you some kind of reason to walk in that gray space, then literally it's just not worth it. It's not worth your time. And literally I would tell you to go on and move on with your life and pursue other things, which is what I'm having to do, is to just move forward in my life. And you know, I think that's all I got for you, is to just know that just because you love them, you do not have to be with them. And they've shown up. Get the lesson, yo. Get the lesson and keep moving. And, you know, and the thing is this, if it's meant to happen, you know, it will happen at some point. That I do believe. But the thing is that you do not have to stop your life just because somebody showed up and you have an intense connection with them. You don't. You just don't. If they're not showing that they have value, that they're adding value to your life, yo, reconsider it. Like seriously reconsider it. Love yourself first, because within loving you, the love that you exude for yourself can only be reflected by someone else. So love and light to you all. You know, I don't really call anything twin flames or you know, all of the whatever other names they got for this stuff. I don't use them. I call them soul connections. And yeah, we do have soul mates, but there's so many of them. I call them our soul family. Like you recognize the souls that you've journeyed with, your spirit family, your spirit connections. You have many of them. Thousands of them. The ones that show up as you need them, you know, be like, yo, I'll roll with you in this lifetime. So don't just limit yourself to thinking that there is just one being that is for you or that can love you properly. There are many of them. So if one screws up, open your heart back up again to feel another one. Anyway, maybe just don't ever close it. You know, you don't have to close your heart off because your heart has been hurt. Okay? But watch your expectations of people, because that's really what hurts us, is expecting someone to be a particular way with us and they don't do that. That's what causes the most pain. Or the wanting. It's expectations and wanting. Watch that wanting. Love yourself first, all right? Love and light to you all. I hope this helps somebody. I hope that this resonates with someone or gave you some insight to help you through whatever you're feeling. So, peace, y'all. Take care. Bye. Excuse all the cussing.